All right, today we're going to cut through all the noise and answer one big question. What does it really take to be a successful AI product manager? And let me tell you, it is not about building neural networks from scratch. We're going to break down the 4 core skill gaps that separate the real pros from the wannabes. Let's dive in. So, you're trying to break into AI product management. You've probably taken an ML course, maybe you've learned all about gradient descent. But what if you're focusing on completely the wrong things? What if the skills that truly matter are the ones that nobody seems to be talking about? And this leads us to a pretty uncomfortable truth. The single biggest mistake I see aspiring AI PMs make is thinking that the job is just regular product management with a little ML feature sprinkled on top. This isn't just a simple misunderstanding. It's a genuine career-limiting belief. And today, we're going to completely dismantle it. To even understand the skills, we first have to get our heads around why AI products are just a completely different animal. And it all boils down to one key difference: deterministic versus probabilistic systems. Think about it like this. A traditional PM ships features that are built. They're coded by engineers to do specific, repeatable things. But an AI PM, they ship models that are trained. They learn from data. Their behavior is shaped and guided, not explicitly programmed line by line. And trust me, that is not just a word game, it is a fundamental shift that changes absolutely everything. And this one difference has these massive downstream effects. You see, with a deterministic system, the same input always gives you the same output. Simple, right? But with a probabilistic AI model, that exact same input might give you a slightly different output tomorrow because the model was retrained on new data. All of a sudden done doesn't mean the feature works perfectly according to a spec sheet. It means the model's performance is good enough to ship. You see, you're not managing a static machine anymore, you're guiding a system that learns. So, with that fundamental difference now locked in our minds, let's get to the real heart of this explainer, the 4 skills that most people are completely overlooking while they're off studying the deep theory of machine learning. Just 4. That's the number we're focusing on. 4 critical skill gaps. And they might not be what you'd expect, but I promise you, mastering these is what will actually move the needle in your career. First up, data literacy. And no, this does not just mean you know how to read a chart on a dashboard. It goes so much deeper than that. You know, a lot of folks think data literacy is just about running a quick SQL query, but for a real AIPM, it's about asking the tough questions. Where did this data even come from? What kind of biases are already baked into it? Is this result I'm seeing actually statistically significant, or is it just random noise? You have to become a data detective, questioning the very ingredients your entire product is made of. Okay, the second skill gap is what I call experimentation depth. And if you think this is just about running a simple A/B test, you're in for a bit of a surprise. AI experimentation is a whole different ballgame. See, in the AI world, you're dealing with way more complex challenges. A model that looks incredible in offline testing, in the lab, might completely fall on its face in the real world. You need to understand more advanced techniques like multi-armed bandits, which can dynamically shift traffic to better performing models on the fly. And you've got to know how to measure effects that might not even show up for weeks or even months down the line. And hey, don't just take my word for it. This quote from a senior ML engineering lead absolutely nails it. He mentions non-stationarity, which I know is a fancy word. All it really means is that these AI systems are constantly changing and evolving on their own. So you can't just run a one-and-done test. You have to design an entire strategy for a moving target. That's the leap you have to make. Skill number 3 is a bit of a newer one, but it's absolutely critical now in the age of large language models: prompt engineering. And let's be super clear here. We're talking about a professional discipline, not just a hobby you do with ChatGPT on the weekend. Look, anyone can write a decent prompt for their own personal use, but a professional AI PM, you need to build systems around prompts. How do you design them in a systematic way? How do you evaluate which prompt is better when you're dealing with millions of users? How do you version and manage them just like you would code? That's the huge difference between being an amateur and being a pro. And that brings us to our 4th and final skill, which, honestly, might be the most important one of all: model evaluation thinking. Okay, here is the trap. The trap is looking at a single number, like accuracy. I mean, 99% accuracy sounds amazing, right? But it can be dangerously misleading. True model evaluation is about designing the right metrics for your specific business problem, stress testing the model on all the weird edge cases, auditing it for robustness, and ultimately building a rock-solid framework to make that final, crucial decision, to launch or not to launch. So let's just be crystal clear. Your job as an AI PM is not to build the models. Your real value comes from being the chief skeptic, the lead evaluator, and the final decision maker. You need to interrogate these systems and question their behavior better than anyone else on the entire team. Okay, so we've identified the gaps. Now for the most important part, right? What do you actually do about it? Let's turn all this theory into an action plan that you can start using today. Here are 3 concrete steps. First, reframe your entire mindset. Stop thinking about shipping features and start thinking about shaping behavior. Second, get really smart on metrics that go beyond simple accuracy. You have to understand things like precision, recall, and the real-world business cost of a false positive versus a false negative. And third, flip your design process upside down. In AI, you absolutely must design for the failure cases first, because believe me, they will happen. And that brings us to the end. We've talked about data literacy, experimentation depth, prompt engineering, and model evaluation thinking. So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Which of these 4 skills is your biggest blind spot right now? Answering that question honestly, that's the real first step to becoming the AI PM you want to be.